You're listening to Big Blend Radio's English Connection Show with Glenn Burrows, owner of Norfolk Tours. Welcome, everybody. Today we're going over to England to talk about oceans, seas, rivers, and the great outdoors. After all, June is National Great Outdoors Month here in the States. It's also National Rivers Month, Oceans Month. Basically, we're celebrating our waterways, and it's a way of not only recreating in them, but also protecting them. So it's really important that we showcase them. But we want to go to England today. Summer is happening over there. It is a beautiful time to get out there, go for a walk on the beach, maybe go for a boat ride, get out in the outdoors, get some good, clean, fresh air. So welcome back, Glenn. How are you?
Oh, all good here. Enjoying the sunshine.
So it is the perfect Mr. Whippy weather, right?
Definitely Mr. Whippy weather.
You want to explain that to everybody? I
Well,
know we
I
just
think
recorded a segment on this for our first Sunday Big Daily Blend show where we're having an ice cream social. So
I
um,
think everybody knows by now that a Mr. Whippy is a soft white ice cream that everybody eats when they go to the beach.
that's right. It's right. With a flake in it, which is
Oh,
a
you've
nice
got to.
chocolate bar. Yeah, we got to
Yeah.
have that. Little bit of chocolate in there. So, the great outdoors, because the wind, especially your area, you have a lot of wind in your area, right? That's why you were used for, airfields in World War II, your region.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you go up on the North Norfolk coast, there is nothing between the North Norfolk coast and the North Pole. So if
Ooh.
you, yeah, I mean, if the wind is blowing from the north, you know about it, you know. But generally speaking, the East Coast is one of the best areas in the summertime. And 9 times out of 10, when they go on the national weather forecast and they tell you which has been the hottest place and which has been this and which has been that, very often you'll find that Cromer, which is on the Norfolk coast, is the hottest place in the country
Oh,
because it's very sheltered when the wind is not in the north.
okay. And does the wind normally happen in winter, right? You always talk about going after Christmas Day or Boxing
Yeah,
Day, going
yeah.
for your cold walk on the beach just to,
Oh, yes.
yeah,
I
scare
mean,
the cobwebs.
if you go there in the winter time, you definitely know where the wind is coming from,
Okay.
because it is very chilly. But actually, today I'm looking out of my dining room window, and the trees are barely moving. There's hardly any wind out there at all today. But another day it'll be a bit breezy.
Yes.
The thing is with England, like I've said in my article, nowhere is very far from the coast.
Mm.
So, especially in Norfolk, I'm only half an hour from the coast, so coastal breezes do even get inland a little way as well. So, we do get the odd breeze, but yeah, it's lovely.
Well, you want a little cool breeze in the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you
not
do.
being funny, whenever you're by water, that is that little bit cooler. There's always that
Hmm.
little cool breeze off the water, and that really does make it lovely in the summertime. But
That,
again, people have to be very aware that water is very dangerous.
mm, yeah, it can take you out. Yeah, you have to be careful because you have those rocky cliff sides, and it's
Oh
not
yeah,
like the typical American beach, with an umbrella and you're under the sun. Some areas are, but
of
some,
course.
yeah, it's a little
Yeah,
different.
yeah. I mean, we've got rocks, we've got cliffs, we've got sand, we've got every sort of beach, we've got mud flats, we've got the lovely mud flats, which is where the water comes in and floods, and then it goes out again, and you get like all this mud flat grass and stuff. There's so many different coastlines in England, and
Wow,
that's
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 different.
why we're so good for birding
Mm.
because we've got all the different bird habitats that you can ever wish for, you know.
One of them, your favorites, kingfishers in the river areas
Um,
and the pond
in
areas.
fact, I think, yeah, the one behind you is in a park at Peterborough, which is
Mm.
where my son lives. And we actually went down. You can see I'm pointing at it over there. That little path that's running over your shoulder, the other one, that one, yeah,
There we go.
that path running along. We went along that path, and there was a kingfisher on that river on that day.
Oh, That's awesome. That's
It-
the birding is a really big deal. And I think what's a good way to go out there and really see the birds is to go, like when we're talking about the coastal birds, to go
mm,
on those coastal walking paths. And everyone, Glenn has an article that is linked up in the episode notes. But if you go to nationalparktraveling.com, just type in Oceans, England, something from Glenn will pop up on there, but it's linked in the episode notes. So check that out. But, and also Glenn's website is there. It's norfolk-tours.co.uk. So when you go to England, call him or connect with him online first, and he'll help you plan your trip according to your needs and wants.
mm.
But, so if you want to do a coastal walking path, you'll help someone with that, right? And it seems that
Yes.
you have a lot of coastline. Oh, is that 8,000 miles of coastline in England? Am
Yeah,
I what?
the thing is, it all depends how you measure it, they say, because it all depends whether you sort of cut corners or whether you go around every little nook and cranny, as all these islands and things we've got as well. But yes, I mean, if anyone wanted to go on a coastal walk, I could drop them off at one end and meet them and take them inland for a lunch, and then take them back again, and then meet them when they've had enough and take them back to the hotel.
Mm,
So although it's a walking holiday, it would be a very leisurely walking holiday, because they would choose how far they wanted to walk, and then they could go and stay in a hotel, have a shower, have a lovely meal. And then if they didn't want to continue on that walk, we could then drive a little bit further and get dropped off somewhere else. So
oh,
I mean, that is what I offer, is the
mhm,
your choice of what you want to do. So
mhm.
a little bit of coastal walking, a trip on the river, a little trip in a forest, and go on a bicycle or whatever. Anything is possible, as we
I
say.
like that. I like that. Now, when you are taking people for like the coastal walking pass, can you give us some ideas of their choices of that? Because I think even Wales has a really famous coastal path that people can walk on.
Yeah, I mean there is a coastal path all the way around England, more or less. There's one or two bits where you can't walk. But you can either sort of walk on a cliff top, or you can walk along, not actually on the beaches necessarily, but very close to the beaches. And
Mm,
then you've got different rocks, rocky areas. So the coastline is so changeable, even within very short distances. I mean, around Norfolk, we've got some areas that are just mud flats. So
mm.
obviously you can't walk across them, because that'd be dangerous.
Would sink
And
a
then
little
you've got
bit.
some, yeah, just a bit. Then you've got these lovely open golden beaches, and then you've got these rocky
Wow.
shores, and then you've got these cliffs. And
Mm.
that's all within an area of 100 miles.
The cliffs of Dover.
No, the cliffs of Hunstanton.
Oh, okay. Where are the cliffs of Dover? In Dover.
Yeah, they're on the south coast, on the English Channel. You see that,
Okay.
and that's interesting, because the White Cliffs of Dover are solid chalk. They're white. The
Wow.
the cliffs at Hunstanton are actually striped. If you Google Hunstanton cliffs, you'll see that there's a white band, which is chalk, and then underneath that there's a very red band,
Oh,
which is sandstone. So you've
wow.
got you've got the two different. So you've got stripy cliffs in Hunstanton, which is quite
Cool.
interesting.
I love that kind of stuff, man. Well, that just shows ancient history. And that's another thing we talked a few months
Yeah,
ago
yeah,
about fossil hunting.
yep,
And again, when you're walking in these areas, keep your eyes peeled because you never know what you might see. You might find a mammoth like someone did in your area.
exactly. Again, on the Norfolk coast, people were just fossil hunting, and they found the first bones of a mammoth, and then they were excavated by the experts. But yes, I mean, with erosion on the coastline, which is something we do suffer from because of the winds and the tides, then obviously you get erosion of the cliffs, and the cliffs fall, and then there's another lot of fossils
Mhm.
that come out of the cliffs. So yeah, I mean, you never know what you're going to find when you're walking on the beach. You never know.
Mm, that's awesome. And then when you talk about all the bird life, do you get herons over there like we do here? And
Yep, yeah, we get
you
herons.
do. Oh,
In Norfolk, we call them harnsers. That's the Norfolk word for a heron, is a harnser.
oh, okay. Well,
So you
well,
learn
there you go.
another
Yeah,
language, bit of Norfolk.
yeah, there it is. Hey, that's the other thing. I mean, when you go to England, there's so many different accents,
Oh,
you
very
know.
much.
And what is with the Geordie accent? I
Well,
can't.
that's a lovely accent. It's a very friendly accent up at Newcastle. I can't do it because I'm not from Newcastle.
I'm like, come on, do it, do it, do it. I
No,
can't.
I can't. I can't. The only thing I can sort of say about the Geordie accent is they always say "away man," something like that, "away man," which is sort of hello sort of thing, you know.
Oh, I want to go back to the English Channel. Speaking of accents,
Yeah,
because you have like direct access to France from your
yeah,
from Norfolk, right? You can just hop on
yeah.
over, go to
You can
Guernsey.
hop on a train in London and get out in Paris.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
amazing. So you're going
but
under the water or over the water?
no, no, you've got the Channel Tunnel now, so you can
That
get
no, but you're really going underwater then in the tunnel.
yeah, it's the Channel Tunnel. Yeah, I've been
That's
on it.
wild.
Yeah, it is.
Aren't you nervous? Like I don't know. It's kind of freaky to me.
No, why? It's a you know, yeah. I mean, I've been on the ferries. The ferries is only short, about 90 minutes across.
To
Um,
France?
yeah, from
Only
Dover to
90
Calais,
minutes.
about 90 minutes. Yeah,
No way.
yeah. You can get
Can you
Channel.
take your
Ferry.
car on the
Yeah, of
ferry?
course. Cars,
We
caravans,
haven't discussed this yet. This is pretty cool.
caravans, everything you like, motorbikes, anything. And
Caravan, everyone is an RV, like an RV or a trailer. Yeah. So
yeah,
so
trailer
yeah, what
caravan.
if someone's touring Europe and they can come over to you from there? Like,
Yeah, yeah, of course. You can get a
huh,
train, like I say, you can get a train directly from Paris to London, and
wow.
you just go straight through the tunnel. And actually, you don't when you're on the train, you don't really realize you're going in a tunnel. You know, well, you do obviously because you're in a
I'm
tunnel.
like, there's no scenery, but yeah.
Yeah,
How fast is the tunnel? Like, how fast is if you
well, it's
go
only
from
about
one?
half an hour.
Really? I didn't
Yeah,
know it was that easy. Like,
so simple. I mean, it's not
I've
simple
been
now.
under a tunnel. I don't know.
We're not in the EU anymore, so I haven't done it since we've been
Oh,
out of the EU. But
oh boy.
the
Yeah.
Channel
That's
Tunnel is a simple thing just to get you drive your car onto a train and yeah, you drive your car into a train.
doesn't it feels like I really did just come out of the bush of Africa, doesn't it?
Yeah, you do. You drive your car onto the train and you just tootle through the tunnel. You drive your car out at the other end, and away you go. You just have to
Wow.
remember. You just have to remember you're driving on the other side of the road when you get to France, because in England
Oh,
we drive on the correct side of the road.
uh-oh, here we
Everybody
go.
everybody else drives on the wrong side.
Really? So Europe is on our correct side, on the American
No,
side.
no, Europe is on the wrong side of the road. We're the correct ones.
No, you're not. But I grew up on your side of the road.
Yeah, I
In
know.
Africa followed suit because of your colonizing.
Yeah, so does Australia. Australia and New Zealand drive on the correct side of the road.
Yeah, that's because you guys wanted to take over all that terrain.
Yeah, I don't know why America isn't, because I mean, you know,
Because we said no. Remember, we had a little bit of a war and said no, we're
oh
not
yeah,
paying your
you
tea
do.
tax.
Yeah, I
The
don't know
tea
why
it was
Canada. I don't understand why Canada drive on the wrong side.
be, because they're part of North America and Mexico drives on the right side too. So once
Uh,
we started it, Canada said, okay, we'll be friends.
all right,
But we were teetotalers. We said no to your tea tax. That's where the word teetotalers comes from, I think, is when we said no to your tea tax.
all
And
right.
then we threw it off a boat and said no. That's what happened to some in a very short sentence. That is not the way to say it. But
And you say you're a teetotaler? I don't think so.
no, no, no. But I wouldn't say no to tea either because I love tea.
No.
I
Well, there
absolutely
you
adore
go.
tea. Okay, so hey, listen, I had to bring the boat in to keep on topic, right? That's
Of
pretty
course you
good.
did. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, all right. So now that we know about transportation, you do have other kinds of boats that are above the water that people can enjoy, right?
Yes.
You've
Yes.
got the like the windjammers and things like that too, like not windsurfing, but like yachts and people
Oh
can
yeah.
go sailing.
They can. I mean, I had a lady over from New Zealand who was writing a book about medieval England, and she wanted to know sort of about monasteries. And there's a monastery right in the middle of the Norfolk Broads, and it's really difficult to get to by road. But they wouldn't have gone to it by road. They would have used a boat because that
Okay.
was an easy way to transport. In fact, most early people moved around by boat because it was easier than going by land because the
Okay.
roads were so bad. So anyway, to give her an idea of what it was like to arrive at the monastery in medieval times, I hired a yachtsman, and he sailed us up the Broads so she could get an idea of what it was like to sail to the monastery, you know.
That's
And,
cool.
and that is what you can hire a yachtsman to actually take you out on the Broads. So you
So
don't
the narrow
have
boat, you've got the yachtsman, you've got the narrow boat that you were
the
talking
narrow
about.
boats. Yeah, the narrow boats are what they used to use
Cool.
on the canals in England. I take it you must have had canals in America as well. Hand
No,
dug
no,
canal,
no, no. We have them in agricultural areas, and they
right?
are not. There's no boats that can fit in that. Well, maybe,
All right,
but no,
right. Well,
no.
these canals in England were like straight rivers,
Kind of
basically.
like what they have in Europe. I know people go on barge tours.
Yes. Well, yeah.
So they
These are
can
barges.
barge tour, catch the train or ferry over to England, and then get on a
Yep,
narrow boat.
you can, and they're called narrow boats because they are very, very narrow. You know, they
Okay.
are really narrow because they had to have two boats passing at the same time, obviously. So they're what they used to use to transport goods from one town to another, especially in the Midlands. So like Birmingham and that area were really, really big with
Mm,
canals. So they used to use boats because you don't need a lot of power to move a boat. And in fact, a lot of the canals were powered by horses, which sounds rather silly because you're on water, but actually there would be what is called a towpath beside the canal, and the horse would
that's
walk
right.
along the path with a rope, and the horse would pull the canal boat, the narrow boat,
Wow, that's
along the
amazing. I
canal.
mean, we owe horses a lot.
Oh, we
We
do. And the funny, I must tell you this, when they used to get to a tunnel, the men had to lie on a plank on the top of the barge. They had to lay on the plank, head to head, you know. So you got a man laying with his legs sticking out that side, and a man laying with his legs sticking out that side, and they used to walk along the wall of the tunnel and push the boat along the tunnel
Oh, I see what you
by
mean with their
walking.
feet.
Yeah. So
That's
the horse,
wild.
the horse would be unhitched, and one man would lead the horse over the hill. The other men on the canal barge, on the narrow boat, would lay down, and they would walk the barge through the tunnel, and the horse would meet them at the other end. It's
Wow. So
fantastic.
this is fascinating history.
Oh,
This
it is.
is.
It
I
really
mean,
is.
this is transportation history that we don't think of, you know?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
that is a trip. So boating, and I wanted to touch on the Broads, and I know we've talked about the Broads for years, but everyone should know that these are not the ladies of Norfolk. But these are
No.
medieval peat, like lagoons almost,
Yeah, they
you
are.
know?
Yeah. Basically, what they did is they used to dig peat, and they dug peat near the rivers so as they could transport the peat in boats, obviously, because that's the
Mm.
easy way to transport things. And then when the peat diggings were finished, the water would flood into the hole that they dug beside them. And all of these peat diggings are now Broads of water.
Mm,
So they're big, sort of like lakes.
mm.
And they're really popular in the summertime. Well, popular all year round, really. But in the summertime, it's full of holidaymakers and day trips on boats. You know, we
Wow.
always go every year. We went when I was little. We used to go, my parents used to take us with my grandparents out for a day. And we do that now with our
Mm.
grandchildren.
Oh,
We have a picnic on the Broads, it's
oh,
what,
that's awesome.
yeah, it's what,
Now, in the Keeping Up Appearances episode with Patricia Rutledge, which we love her,
oh, we do.
Hyacinth Bouquet. For those who watch that on, whenever it comes on PBS or whatever out
Oh,
here,
yeah.
people who love British comedy. There was that one episode where she went out boating with her and Richard, and then Ebbet and his sister were in a separate boat, and they're going down the canals. Where is that kind of area where you're going down these little boats? And she ended up, of course, over the side of the boat into the water, which was hilarious. But they were blocking the bridge, like there was set that it was really difficult, like for her to understand that they were closing the bridges.
The locks are you talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, the locks are where they changed the levels because the canals were dug. So they weren't like a river. They don't flow at the same level, so to speak. So when you've got canals, sometimes a canal will reach an area that it needs to go up or down. And obviously you can't make water go up. But what you can do is you can build a lock, which then allows the boat to go in at the bottom or at the top, whichever, and either drain the water out so the boat falls down, or add the water in from the top part of the canal, and the boat will then come up, and then you open the
Okay.
gate, it goes out again.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's fascinating. I was actually in Stratford upon Avon last weekend, and there was a lock there that was being dealt with. And yes, you need a bit of strength to move the lock gates, but this it's quite fascinating to watch.
Mm. So where was that? Do you think where do you think that was filmed?
It was not. They're normally in the Midlands. There's
Okay.
a lot of canals in what they call the Black Country, which is sort of like round Birmingham and Sheffield, and again Stratford upon Avon, Oxfordshire. But the middle of England is where a lot of canals are. I
Is
mean,
that
no,
where the Lake District is too? The Lake District? I'm
no,
trying to get my parents.
The Lake District is in the north, the
It's
northeast.
beautiful.
Oh, it is. Of course it is.
I mean, the lake,
Everywhere's beautiful.
and isn't that where you have your national parks too?
Yeah, I mean, there are loads of national parks in England. You must come and do the national parks of England when you've
We're
done
going to.
that.
We are. We are. We have our new initiative that I'm not allowed to talk about to anyone yet.
Well, there you
But
go.
we talked to it. We told you, and everyone stay tuned. Things are coming. By the end of the year, everyone will know. But we will be going global pretty much with our park tour, and
But
because
yeah, I
it's
mean,
all connected.
we have national parks in England, and the Lake District was the first one, and that's where Beatrix Potter lived as
I'll
well.
never forget my Beatrix Potter time there. I
Oh,
loved
yeah,
it as a little girl. I was so because I was not a girly girl, I was a tomboy,
yeah,
and I loved Beatrix Potter because it was all about the animals. You
yeah.
know what I mean? And the woods. And I wasn't a girly girl, but I also was very big into fairies, and I still believe in fairies. So
Well,
I don't believe in unicorns, but I do believe
oh,
in fairies. But why not believe it? I mean, how do we know there weren't any unicorns?
well, we
How do
don't.
we know? Like,
Do
we
you
don't
know?
know.
I'll just tell you this. In
We're off track again, didn't we?
well, we're going to in Blickling Hall, which is one of
Mhm.
our beautiful stately homes where Anne Boleyn was born.
Oh,
Name dropping there.
I know you love Anne Boleyn.
Yeah, I do. And yeah, there's the library that has recently been catalogued, and we were there one day, and the man from the British Library who was actually doing the cataloguing was cataloguing this particular book, which was a book about all the animals in the world at the time. And yes, unicorns were in the book
No
about
way. See?
animals that were around at the time because
Oh,
they believed that unicorns existed. And who's to
see?
say they didn't? And the
Well,
funny
makes
thing was,
sense.
yeah, the funny thing was the mermaids were in there as well. The funny thing
Cool.
was the not the camel, the giraffe was called the camelopard because they thought that was a cross between a camel and a leopard.
Oh,
And
wow.
it
Wow.
was called the camelopard, which I thought was
Yeah,
fun.
that's funny, but they are camel relatives to
Well, there you go.
camels.
They thought they were a cross between a
Hmm.
camel and a
I
leopard.
love giraffes, and they're so threatened.
Oh,
And going back, so the unicorn, so that was Operation Unicorn for the Queen if something happened to her when she
yeah,
passed, right? They had to
yeah,
call Operation Unicorn, and that was the code language to do the emergency code for
yeah.
her, right? So see, I believe that she knew that there was unicorns then.
Who's to argue? We don't know.
I'm
I
not
was
going to argue with her.
I was talking to somebody last night he actually spent a lot of time in the early 1970s
Hmm.
in oh, I can't remember the name of the place, New Guinea, right?
Oh,
And
cool.
I didn't realize that actually New Guinea was not explored hardly at all until the 1940s.
Hmm.
1930s and 1940s, they were then going into New Guinea. And even in the 1970s, there were parts of New Guinea that he didn't go
Right.
in, you know. So who knows what's in the
They were
world?
still cannibalism in that time frame too,
Well,
over
who
there.
knows? But what I'm saying is there are parts of the world that nobody's been to. Well, nobody who's talking about it has been to. People are there, like they were in Australia and New Zealand, Tasmania,
Hmm.
in North America, but we don't necessarily know about it. So who knows?
Right, right. And I actually did an interview with a gentleman from England about they created an atlas of places that are undiscovered and
Yeah,
that like people have gone out and with airplanes and done, topography maps and things. So I'll send you that.
yeah,
It's completely off topic. It was just kind of the wild places of the earth that are barely,
yeah, okay,
visited. There are,
yeah.
and so you'll still have a few people in the world that go out there, but that's, that's what's so interesting to me about England. I'm getting us back
You're,
on track from
you're getting back
cannibalism,
in again.
unicorns, all
Yeah.
of that, right? Going back, I'm circling us around, but for you to have these nature places because you are an island, there's a lot of people that live in your country, right?
Yes.
But you still have places where you can go for walks and enjoy like the hedgerows and
Oh
get
yeah.
out like Peddar's way. I always say peddler's
Better,
way, Peddars.
better way. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, places like that, the Roman roads that you can walk on when we talk about
Yeah.
the outdoors.
Yeah.
There's rivers there. Oh, the River Thames. We got to talk about that. Or is it the Thames River? River Thames?
River Thames. Yeah.
See, I didn't say Thames. You should be
No,
proud
you
of
didn't.
me.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. But yeah, I mean, like you say, when you consider that England, Scotland, Wales, the mainland of the United Kingdom is quite a small area.
Hmm.
It would all fit in Texas,
It's
and there's
wild. Yeah.
plenty space around it. And there's about 70 million of us live here. Um, but there is millions of acres of completely wild countryside.
Mm.
You can just explore wilderness and get completely away from it all.
Mm.
There are some areas in Norfolk where you can go to and you won't see a soul, you
Mm.
know. And so
That's my style.
yeah, I mean that is the lovely thing. And even if you are in an area where you're going to see people, it's not going to be crowded. There are places that are crowded. Obviously, there are. But I mean, look at the mountains behind me, the
Hmm.
hills.
Yeah.
You go up in them hills on Anglesey, because that's Anglesey and North Wales. You go up there, you probably won't see a soul.
Remember that about Scotland and Wales? You would go on like little country roads and just be out in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah,
which is beautiful, just to have that. And what I love is you have, true streams, you
yes,
know, little streams. And I remember as a kid when we were in England, and I don't know where we were, I think we were in Scotland, and there was this beautiful stream area, and you talk about rocks and pebbles. That was also one of my favorite things. As a kid, you're throwing
yeah,
pebbles and all of
yeah,
that, but there were these, big rocks like this, kind of making like a walkway. But I had these boots on, wellies, right?
yeah,
Wellington
well,
boots,
yeah.
little wellies on, and so my feet weren't doing it. I was gonna fall in the way I was walking, and Nancy's like, "Don't do that. You're gonna fall in." No, I'm fine. I'm fine. Don't do that. You're gonna fall in. What do you think happened?
Well, of course.
Well, of course, but and it was cold.
Oh, yes.
It was cold, and so that's when Nancy go. Any chance she got, it's like, "This is why you listen to your mother." I'll never forget falling in, but and of course I fell on my bum because it wasn't like, it wasn't a huge amount of water, so I just had a wet butt. Here it is. I said bum instead of butt because
You did.
you say bum. You don't say butt in England, do you? No,
No, no.
it's bum.
It's a bum. Yes.
It's a bum. I had a wet bum. And of course, as a little girl, that was embarrassing.
Of course it was. But
But
you know, this is the fun, isn't it? That you are just in nature. You know, you can those lovely little streams that
mm,
you
oh, I
can
love that.
you can just walk across by picking where you put your feet, you
Mm,
know, and that just that for me, it's the sound
mm.
of bubbling and flowing water. It's just so amazing.
It's calming. And they say that, you know, one of my favorite quotes by the guitarist Carl Perkins, who's just legendary to me, um, is if it weren't for the rocks in the stream, there would be no, if it wasn't for the rocks, there'd be no bubbling stream. You know, you wouldn't hear the music of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
stream,
yeah,
basically.
cool.
I
Yeah,
screwed it up, but you know what I mean.
yeah, yeah, that's
So,
right.
so it's kind of a nice thing to remember in life that you've got to have the rocks to make the music,
Exactly. And it's like
you know?
everything else, you know, people say, oh, we get a lot of rain in England, but look what we get because we do
Yeah.
get a bit of rain. We get green, you know.
Mm,
I mean, I remember I was driving through the countryside once and I had some people in the car and I said, just look at the view over there.
hmm
You could paint that, but you only need one color, and that color is
mm,
green. There are millions of different shades of green, but you could paint that entire picture with green. You know,
hmm
there is nothing but green, and
That's nice.
that's because
But you've got
we
that.
get that.
I've got all those beautiful trees, but you also have a lot of flowers. I mean, the gardening
Oh
side of
yeah,
things. I mean, the
yeah,
gardens and just, you know, roses and just
oh
the, what,
yeah,
you know, the primroses. And I remember
yeah,
when I was in school, the one teacher would always take us outside
yeah,
whenever she could.
yeah,
And, you know, I remember getting in trouble because, of course, I went up a tree and you weren't supposed to go up the tree, but, you know, and she was showing us, we were doing like nature stuff and showing us all the flowers, just looking what were all these plants. And of course, I'm like, yeah, let's do this. This is
yeah,
my
yeah,
kind of school. And she taught us how to make daisy chains, and there
yeah,
were buttercups everywhere. And I was
yeah.
like, this is cool. You know, I felt better because we had just come from Kenya, and that is like
Oh,
flowers
yeah, yeah, yeah.
power place, you know. And so all the buttercups, it was completely new to me. So I was like, this is so cool. But the buttercups, you guys have is it, are they gone now, or is that mostly
No, no, no.
spring?
They are absolutely out in force at the moment. I mean,
Ah,
I can't think where well, it must have been when we was at Stratford upon Avon, in one of the because we were staying in a hotel with really big grounds, and I'm sure it was there when we were walking around the grounds. There was an area that was completely yellow with buttercups.
ah,
Yeah, it is amazing. I mean, nature is amazing. You know, all you've got to do is just sit and just take it in. You know,
exactly. Calms your soul, man.
well, especially by water. You know.
It's there is something embryonic, I think, about water. And
Yes.
just hearing the tide, and it just kind of feels like, okay, it's lucid.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good for
There's
your
a
soul.
there's a lovely bit of coastline in Norfolk that is a shingle beach, so it's all stones.
Mm,
And to hear the sea washing up on stones is just totally amazing. It's like a round of applause. Every time it
mm.
comes in and goes out, it's like a round of applause. It's absolutely fantastic.
It's music to your ears.
Oh, it is. It is.
It is. Love it. I love it. I mean, everyone, you've got to go to norfolk-tours.co.uk, keep up with Glenn there, and plan your nature trip. And I know it's summertime, so it's really gorgeous, but all season round, you can get out in nature, even go
Hmm.
walking through a little bit of snow. And, you know, it's beautiful out there. From all the photos I've seen that, you know, you've shared over the years, plan it year round, right? You could go out and people can go
Yeah.
camping in the summer, right? That's the other thing. You can
Oh
go
yeah,
camping.
camping. Yeah, I mean, again, like I was saying earlier, you know, if you want to have a little bit of camping, a little bit of hotel, a little bit of living in a cottage, you know, it doesn't.
Ooh, I like that.
I can make you a holiday, however a vacation, however you want it made up. You know,
Mm,
so camping, hotels, caravans, cottages, boats, whatever you want. You know,
ooh,
and there are so many things available to people nowadays.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Glenn.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you next month.
Yeah, I look forward to it. What should we
Yeah.
talk about next time?
Stratford-on-Avon.
Oh, yeah, that would be good. Shakespeare.
Yeah, your favorite man. We're going to go back to school, Glenn. I'll do Macbeth for you.
The only bit of going back on Shakespeare, I'll just tell you, when I did study English literature, we studied Twelfth Night. So I remember the opening speech of Malvolio, which was, "If music be the food of love, play on, give me excess of it. That surfeiting the appetite will sicken and so die." And that is my end of my knowledge of Shakespeare.
Mine is Macbeth. I won an award for being a witch.
Oh, did
Go
you?
figure.
I cannot believe it.
Yeah, double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn, a cauldron bubble.
Well,
Fillet
we'll
of a
leave that.
fenny snake in the cauldron, boil and bake. Eye of newt, tug of frog, wool of bat. No, I've forgotten.
We'll leave that till next time.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll catch up on Macbeth next. So, I mean, Shakespeare next. Thank you so much, Glenn.
All right, bye.
Thank you for joining us for Big Blend Radio's English Connection show with Glenn Burrows, owner of Norfolk Tours. If you're planning a vacation to England or looking up your family history in England, visit norfolk-tours.co.uk to connect with Glenn. Keep up with our shows at bigblendradio.com.